Welcome to the SubHub podcast. I'm MK Sullivan.
And I'm Danny Moreno. And today, MK and I are going to cover all things big week in Chamonix, reactions to the event, our races, how they went, the before, the during, the after. And thanks to many of you who sent us questions on Instagram, we are going to work through all of those as well and gave us some great ideas of what to just kind of cover for this whole pod. But first things first, what's coming out, MK?
Next week we will have episodes with Eli Hemming, winner of the men's OCC race, and Sarah Alonso, who finished an impressive fourth place in the women's OCC race in her first ever go at a much longer distance than she's kind of used to.
Yeah, and then we also have our SubHub headlines this month again. Sorry, guys, as you can imagine, Chamonix is crazy busy for us. And as much as the lead up to the race, we were thinking we would knock it out. You're just tired, you're busy, you're socializing. So definitely go and check out the SubHub headlines, which released today or are published today. And you can also always check on those by clicking the link in our Instagram, and that will take you to the Beehive landing page where you can see not only this month's newsletter, but all of our past newsletters. We've had some great people, especially in our SubHub stories section. Last month, the team manager of Run Together, the team based out of Kenya, did an amazing job answering our questions. So again, we just really encourage you to go and check that out.
Yeah, and it's a week late, but we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of OCC content in there for you guys. So it'll be a good headlines. We've got OCC podium from last year talking about how they literally won all the races this year. Hopefully some other cool stuff for you guys as well. So make sure you guys check that out. Danny, how are you feeling after your race? Congrats on a huge PR from your basically the same course 2 years ago, as well as a sixth place finish this year.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I am doing all right. I feel like I've expressed a lot of thoughts on Instagram already, but yeah, I think I'm walking away from it with contentment. I don't know if that's a word. I'm content. Like, I wanted to win the whole thing, and it wasn't my day on that day. And it's just one of those things that, when you're lining up with the best in the world, everything's got to line up that day. And yeah, just certain things weren't firing. I think I had some confidence issues in like certain moves, probably as a result of this summer of racing that I've had so far. And yeah, I was talking to the sports psych like that we have with Terex a couple days before the race, and it was very clear to me that I still had stuff to work through. But at that point, there's nothing you can do to really work on that. So that was pretty eye-opening for me. But yeah, overall, like it was a good race, like you said. It was a PR, and I feel really bad when I'm like all bummed and sulking when I still got an 11-minute PR. But um, yeah, it's just when you have that spectrum and you end up on the lower end of your spectrum on the biggest day of the year, you're always thinking like what I can do better. But the race was crazy. Like it lived up to the hype. Being an active participant in it, like this year's field was crazy talented.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that after your race because it's just like obviously you've podiumed at this race before. You wanted to podium win this race this year. You get sixth place, huge PR, but a big part of that is obviously that like the competition has just ratcheted up every single year, especially on the women's side. So still an amazing day. I know it's like not always you don't feel that way, but it definitely was.
Yeah, I am also lucky to have like great friends like you and great coach and Terry Howell and teammates and yeah, just, people that are close to me that know what this year's been like. It's just been a little different and wonky for me. I'm used to being more consistent, just like straight up. And I set my goal and I hit it. And this year I feel like I fell short of every goal except canyons and my half marathon. So it feels like it's been a while since I've nailed it. But with that being said, like, struggling with anemia earlier this summer, and even though in the race I like felt that lack of confidence, I finished the race stronger than I ever would have expected. Um, and proved to myself that like I still can be strong throughout an entire race, especially this one. But yeah, the comp was crazy this year. MK and I were looking up some stats, and on the women's side, first through 10th, the spread was 19 minutes and 54 seconds. Last year, it was 26 minutes and 55 seconds on a much shorter course. Like 10th place last year was 5:45, and this year it was 6:13. So that's almost 30 minutes difference of racing, which is wild on the women's side, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I like seeing that spread compared to last year's with how much, I mean, because Tony won last year and like somewhere around 520, right? And this year's winner was
5:54.
554, meow meow. So like, yeah, like 34 extra minutes of racing even on the front end, and that spread just got so much smaller. I mean, and looking at the list of top 10 finishers, Danny and I were talking about this beforehand, like I'm pretty sure that Tony and I covered at least 8 of the women in the top 10. So like these are all the people that you would expect to be there.
Yeah. Like everyone showed up basically,
Yeah.
like to try and win, which is really cool. I
Yeah.
think that was kind of on everyone's mind. And I think at least going through the race, like after Champay, just hit after hit. Like, what did I mean? I was in the race, but I could only imagine watching it, like how exciting it was. There was probably like 6 different leaders throughout the race. Like, I mean, I was in the front. I say that in quotes. Everyone was right behind me. I turned back and I was like, oh, they're literally right there. But it was like, technically speaking, you had Meow who took it out. Allie was in the front at some point, like on the way up to Champay. Judith, Tabor, obviously, that second climb, what a mad climb. I don't know if Sarah ever bumped to the front,
I
but
don't think so.
like she was right there for like that whole first half. So in years past, the winner has already been leading going into like the bovine climb, pretty much. So yeah, it was a crazy year, so much movement, and then to the end too, like places 4 through 8 was just wild. Like it was crazy. Like it literally was nonstop. I remember like passing Caitlin at some point, Allie, Camila, Ikram, and then them all passing me again and then passing again. And like no one was dying. It was wild considering the heat, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'd say like I feel like those tactics typically don't happen over like the 50K plus distance. Like you were saying, most of the time it's kind of settled for the most part, like halfway through. But to have that much movement through a 34-mile race is insane.
Yeah. And
It was
honestly,
fun to watch though.
that's good. I'm glad we put on a show. I feel like everyone I talked to though, their mind was just blown by how close the women were the entire time. And I haven't what's it called? I haven't been able, I honestly probably won't rewatch the
It's,
video,
it's
but
a really long race.
it's really long race. But the other thing was the heat was very, very hot this year,
It
like
was
super,
awful.
super hot. It was already going into the bovine climb. You could feel the humidity lighting up. So that was a whole nother factor. Um, dang it, I forgot what I was gonna say about OCC. I forget. I will say they did change. It's not exactly the same course from 2022,
Yeah.
but it was a surprise to all of
Yeah.
us because it wasn't the GPX track. And Sarah Alonso was like, that was not the course that I studied. But coming down into Latour, I think it was a harder descent, like being honest, because usually you like zigzag the bottom and you come out at like the base of the parking lot of
Yep.
Latour. But they took us up higher and it was almost like 15% ski slope. It was really weird. It was like kind of steep and slippery.
Was it that
And
dirt road kind of like closer to
yeah,
the middle of town? Okay, I know exactly what you're
exactly.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was expecting to like just do those last switchbacks and
Yeah.
finish. And switchbacks are hard because you have to like push into the corners, is what I've learned over the years. Is like if you really want momentums on the switchbacks, it's about like swinging out and pushing when you turn, or else you'll like lose momentum. But so I was like getting ready for that, but then this just like slamming you all the
Hammered.
way down. And then we were like in the middle of some random field and grass. It was really weird. And I think everyone was kind of like, what is going on?
Are we on the course?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird, but I know what road you're talking about, and it's very steep.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
wild.
I mean, all this to say that like the women ran so much faster than they did 2 years ago with
Oh,
like
that's what I was gonna say. Good job.
85, 85 degrees. It was like 80 to 85 degrees, and the humidity was between 70% and 80% on the day. It was disgusting out there.
Yeah. I I mean, last year was perfect weather,
Yeah.
and you could see that I think reflected in the times as well. And then in 2022 when I ran, it was also hot, but I don't remember it being this humid. Like
It
I
was
remember it
so
being like
humid.
a dry kind of hot.
Yeah.
And yeah, this year was really, really freaking hot. And my time from 2 years ago didn't even make top 10, which
Yeah.
is sick. The top 8 women would have won 2 years ago. That's not long. And like we talk about dropping time at like Western states, but like the shorter you go, the harder it is to take off that much time. Like eight
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
that's wild in harder conditions and like
Yeah.
a slightly longer downhill. Holy moly. Everyone was on a mission, that's for
It's
sure.
it's crazy, but it's super cool.
It's super,
And
super cool.
yeah, I feel like we can talk about this later, but I think that the qualifying system like helps that a ton as well.
I
Just
think
like
so too.
elevating the competition. But yeah, no, dude, congrats. I mean, huge day either way.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the last thing I will say is I'm not so hung up on it anymore. But I do feel like I had a mental weak moment going at Bargy and Tear, like starting that climb, and immediately I heard my place, and at that point I think I was still eighth. Yeah, because Ikram and Camila were still ahead of me. Um, and then Caitlin had like just passed me too. And I kind of was just like having a mid-race pity party,
Like
which
it's over.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like I'm not on the podium. It wasn't my day. And at that point in the race, that you only have the climb and the descent, but it's freaking trail running. That's still an hour of racing, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and I forget, honestly, it was my team manager, Rob. He, once I like came out of the chute to Le Flagere, like
Hmm.
that last little bit when you could start hearing people,
Yeah.
he was like, third place is still on the climb. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, are you freaking serious? There's third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. There's 5 to 6 women
They're right there.
on this climb. What? But when you're in the trees, you just don't know. Um, and I was like, okay, I need to rally this. And he was like, try to run the whole thing, try to run the whole thing. So I was trying to run. And of course, I'm looking ahead and I passed Ikram, and then Camila was ahead and Caitlin was ahead. And they just both happened to be running too. I'm like, now we're all running the last climb. What is this? This is unfair.
That
That
is
was
such a
really
hard
good.
climb to run too. That last little bit out of the
Exactly.
trees is like, oh my God.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I got to the top, I think right behind Camila. I honestly couldn't see her. She had already dropped. And for anyone who doesn't know, like when you start the descent off the top of La Flagere, it's really steep. Like
Brutal.
you could fall there and it
Yeah.
sucks. And then you have like this weird, like very ankle rolling ski shoot, and then you hit the technical like a million like death by a
So
thousand
many
million
switchbacks.
switchbacks.
Yeah.
And then you have like the last bit. And yeah, I was able to catch Camila. But when I started that descent, I thought in my head, I'm like, okay, you have Caitlin Fielder, Sarah Alonso, and Clemente Geoffrey. Those are the people you're chasing right now. Because by
On
that
a
time, like
downhill.
on a downhill, and Meow and Judith are gone at that
Yeah.
point. And I'm like, I literally have to have the downhill of my life if I'm going to have any chance of trying to catch these women. And I think I did. But when you're chasing those are the last names you want to hear.
Yeah.
Like the only other person I wouldn't want to race at that point is like Karina Carcelio. Like she's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how would
Oh
you
my
feel if
gosh.
those were the people ahead of you?
Well, especially Clementine, it's like, well, she's gone.
Yeah, yeah,
After seeing
exactly.
her downhill at Worlds and like how much of a gap she put on Judith at that point, it's like,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, you just got to hammer because you never know. Like
Yeah.
the two women that I passed on the downhill at Worlds, I would have never thought I could have passed them. Like if you
Yeah.
had told me before that day, I'd be like, I've lost it on the downhill. You just have to like kind of throw your body down and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did, and me and Caitlin, I think, had the fastest split down, which is
Yeah.
wild. Like, that's the person, of course, I'm freaking chasing. And then all the other areas of the downhill, I like tied Clementi or
Yeah.
like was either just a second or behind her. So I don't know. Honestly, that gave me a huge confidence boost because I was really nervous about the downhills, and I checked all the other downhills and I was like, I can run with these people. I need to like let
Yeah.
that go. Like I'm a
Yeah.
good downhiller. Like I can run with them. I just need to catch up
Just
everywhere
do
else.
it.
Yeah. Hey fam, Danny here. Just a reminder that this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Never Second. Never Second is an easy to understand modular system that allows you to create the exact amount of carbs that you want for your activity. Their products are meant to mix and match, which personally I love taking advantage of. So you can ensure that you're getting 30, 60, 90, or even 120 grams of carbs per hour. I have been using Never Second during my buildup for OCC, and it is all I will be using on race day. Like I mentioned, it's meant to be mix and match, and I've been taking full advantage of that. I love the C30 fruit punch gel along with the berry plus, so that means it has caffeine. I also alternate this with a mix of 3 scoops of the C30 citrus, which is their powder, or the C90 orange. So as you can see, I love mixing all of the flavors. I love that the sodium is very easy to understand. For the C30, 1 scoop, it's 200 milligrams of sodium. The C90, it's also 200 milligrams of sodium. So if you're interested in trying Never Second, I'm a huge fan. Like I said, it's all I will be using for OCC. Be sure to use SubHub25 for 25% off of all of your orders. Again, that's SubHub25 for 25% discount off all your orders at neversecond.com. That's NEVER 2.com. Now back to the episode. But yeah, OCC, insane. Women's race, men's race. Like we said, the women separated by 19 minutes 54 seconds. Men's race separated by 19 minutes 16 seconds. The men's field was crazy coming into this. And, you know, notable drops from Christian Allen and Remy Bonnet. I haven't seen like any other notable drops so far, but like considering the women are out there for, let's see, 5:11. What's 54 minus 11? 3. 43 more minutes. I
Yeah,
mean,
and compared to last year, they got slower. So last year their gap from first to 10 was 17 minutes and 6 seconds.
the men.
They
Yeah.
lost, yeah, the men, they lost 2 minutes on that this year on a longer course. So you would
That
think that the time would shrink a little bit, not get bigger. And we were trying to figure out like why. And I think that looking at this list, not that like the UTMB index and elite thing are like everything, but they are pretty accurate when it comes to this. There are 3, 4 dudes on this list, maybe 5 that we covered in our preview. So like a lot of people kind of unknown. I mean, the a couple of the Chinese athletes were in the top 10 last year as well, but like it just doesn't seem like it was as deep as the women's field in terms of like top 10.
Yeah. And I think you meant to say you would expect it to actually increase because it's a longer race, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
like the men being 17 minutes and 6 seconds difference
Yeah.
last year on a shorter course and then increasing to 19 minutes and 60 seconds. That makes sense, right? They're out there for 30 minutes
Right.
longer,
And the women went the other way.
and the women went almost 7 minutes faster. It's wild. So yeah, way to go, men and women. Extra kudos to the women this time. MK and I were also saying this is an interesting case study because we had the same exact 2-3 this year on the men's side. So the front end was the same. And Augustina Uricula, A+ for consistency, 10th place last year, 10th place this year. And I mean, if it's the same runner, so the women are just improving. Like
Yeah.
they're just stepping up their game. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we won't do a recap of the men's race because we weren't running it, but also you guys will get to hear Eli talk about it hopefully next week. So
Yeah.
we'll
So
go
stay
into
tuned
that
for his
a little bit
episode.
more. Yeah.
But yeah, huge congrats to him. First American to win. MK and I were saying offline. I was third in 2022. Katie Scheid second last year. Eli bringing home the perfect escalation of places by American. We all had him on our fantasy podium in some shape or form, pretty much, I think. Or we were like
Oh
pegging
yeah, I had
him
him
as
winning.
strong favorite. Yeah. So yeah, huge congrats to him. Francesco Pupi, oh, 2 for 2 and took a wrong turn. Uh, could have been a completely different race if he didn't
Yeah.
take that wrong turn, and I know exactly where he took that wrong turn, and it's super ambiguous, like, where he did it, and he added over 2 minutes to his
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Ugh,
And he lost to Eli by 3.
yeah, that's wild, and his climb up to Les Flégères, like, holy moly, MVP of Les Flégères because he's done that 2 years in a row,
Yeah,
like,
that's where he catches people.
yeah. So cool. And then Antonio Martinez, 3 for 3, 3 podiums in 3 years. Second, third, and third, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Second, third, and third. He was second to Manuel in 2022.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So cool.
Dude
And then
knows how to
just
run this race.
he knows how to run this race. And just going through the rest of the top 10, Zhu Z from China, Aritz Igia from Spain, Christian Jones from the UK. I talked to him because we were standing next to each other on the stage, and this was his first time doing something like this, I think. So yeah, he said he was really happy with that. Danielle Castillo, Spain, Tao Luo, China, Hu Zhao, China, Robbie Simpson from the UK. So China and Spain both had 3 athletes in the top 10. The UK had 2 athletes, and then we have 1 Italy, 1 US. So China and Spain, I mean, this whole year, they've just been dominating so many different races. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the Spanish women are dominating as well. On the women's side, we had Miao Yao in first place, Judith Wider, Clementine Joffrey, Sarah Alonso, fifth place, Caitlin Fielder, Danny Moreno in sixth, Camilla Magliano, Ikram Rarsala, sorry, it's probably Rarsaya, Rosa Lara Filio, and Anastina Urquela. So the women's side had 3 Spanish athletes in the top 10.
Yeah, and I will say, ones to watch, Ikram Marsala and Rosa Larfilu. I heard about them before the race. They are young guns, kind of like Malin.
Oh yeah.
I think, yeah, they're going to be pushing up towards Sarah and Malin as that like really strong young Spanish contingency, which is going to be really exciting to see. And Miao Yao is going to be featured in our Sub Hub headline. She's going to answer some questions for us. We'll get her back on the pod one day for those folks who want to get her. We want to get her too. There's just like some logistical stuff because we do need a translator to talk to her. And you know what? There's still some races left for her. So we want to see how our year finishes out before potentially bring her back on. But we forgot to shout that out is like Miao Yao moves last year. This year makes a move in the same exact freaking spot, like almost to the like half mile, quarter mile, and sticks the freaking landing. And
Yep.
you know, she had a great challenge from Tabor. That's another shout out we should definitely make is like Tabor freaking like showed so much confidence and went for it against this field. I think we're just starting to see the beginning of her. I hope she heals up well with her back. Like, it just so suck. It sucks when you come into these biggest races of the year with like an injury that's coming like in and out, and you just don't know what's going to happen on the day. So yeah, hopefully her back heals up 100%. I would love to see her back here. Talking to her personally, I don't know if she's ready to come back. But hopefully we'll see her in something else mountainous. Like I'd love to see her back at like Mont Blanc Marathon or
Yeah,
Zagama, just like these like super punchy climbs. Because yeah, she was climbing like a beast.
definitely. And she like first go at OCC went for it.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
like had no fear there, which is super cool. Meow
yeah.
Yao has now won CCC and OCC, as well as Tony McCann after this year. So like super cool to see that. And I imagine she's somebody because she's tried UTMB once before after she ran CCC. I'd love to see Meow Yao come back and like do the triple. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, and when did she win CCC?
2019.
Okay. When did Hayden win CCC?
Maybe same year. I'd have to look it up though.
Let's look it up really quick because I actually think that's an interesting fact. Um,
Oh, I keep
CCC,
forgetting my keyboard's not working.
not 2016. That's like when he started racing. It's in here somewhere, right? Okay, so when did he? Okay, TDS. Okay, so he won CCC in 2017. When did she win CCC?
2019.
Okay, never mind. Either way, I think it was really cool that he won again
Hmm.
after, honestly, rough goes at this race, like
Yeah.
multiple DNFs. And then she hasn't really had rough goes. I mean, she was second last or third last year in an incredible field as well. I honestly haven't looked deep into how her other stuff is good besides the drop at
Golden
UTMB,
Trail.
but like I talk about this a lot with friends. Like, we have not bad results, like
Off days.
results amnesia, right? Like, these two athletes won years ago
Hmm.
and then they won again. Like, that just shows you, like, stick with it. Like, it's really hard to have those perfect days on the day every
Yeah.
single year.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's so cool to go like multiple years and then get a win again. Like, yeah.
No,
That's
very
sick.
cool.
One and the last thing I want to say about OCC before we transition to is like going into the race, I personally thought, and I was briefly listening to Trail Network with Leah and Katie, and I forget one of them said something similar too, but like I personally had this notion that this women's field, particular, even the men's race, was going to run away. Like you couldn't catch the field. Like once they were out, they were gone. Clementi freaking Joffrey
She
proved
did
me
it.
so wrong. And I just thought that wouldn't work this year because that's normally how I race too, is like, or I prefer to race that way, is hunting. And yeah, she flew past me on the part that I flew past people on 2 years ago. And I was like, she's doing it. Like she's actively doing it. Cause I saw her fly and I was like, she's gone. Like she's on a whole nother gear right now. And I do feel like does carnage does that much carnage still happen? Like people Ludo freaking was in like 40th place and moved up to 5th place. And even Ruth Croft, like she was kind of in the mix. She was in like top 10 or
Yeah.
something. She moved up. Hayden was kind of in front all day. Tony was in front all day. Yeah, men's CCC and women's CCC were pretty set like
Yeah.
through it. And then men's OCC, I guess Francesco moved up, but that was because of a wrong turn. But anyways, I just thought that was super interesting that she was able to do that um, in that race. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I just thought that was super fascinating.
Yeah, that is interesting. I thought she was out of it for sure. I was
Yeah,
like super
I
surprised she was able to do that.
she was nowhere near the group at Champay.
No. Yeah.
Wild.
And even at Col de Balm, I'm pretty sure she was like kind of far
She
back still. Or is that when she
started.
made her move?
She made her move after Triant because by Col de Bomb
Yeah.
she was in 5th place.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was like in 10th or 11th or something like that, maybe even 12th. I can't remember, but she was pretty far back.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like in 2022, I was like 10 minutes off the podium at Trion and caught up. But like it was a really good field that year too. But this year is like
Crazy.
wild. I was like,
She
oh
is our world champion. So like
yeah, yeah. It makes me wonder if she had gone earlier,
if she could have won.
if she could have won. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. but that was her chosen strategy for
Yeah.
the day, and it worked out pretty
Yeah.
well, which is cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Podium's still pretty great.
all right. Before we jump into general questions and whatnot, do you want to talk about your CCC experience?
Nah,
No,
not
okay.
really. I mean,
Okay.
it was a very short-lived day. It is what it is. I'm probably not going to Chamonix for a while. That place is not for me. Yeah, just kind of like really silly stuff to have to drop out of a race for. Like
Yeah.
last year I was sick, so it's like, oh, that makes sense. And then this year it's like, oh, my tape hurt my feet. And like telling people that, I'm like, wow, that's really lame. And I feel like a baby, but whatever. I'm past it. This year has been so weird for me.
Yeah.
Like,
I've been calling it wonky. It's a wonky
yeah,
year.
yeah, when you were talking about your wonky year, I was like, dude, me too. Because obviously, like, was ready to race well at Black Canyon, had to drop out because I rolled my ankle. Had a great day at Canyons. Then, like, tried to run Broken Arrow, wasn't recovered from Canyons yet. Had a great day at Cirque Series. Had a pretty decent day at Speed Goat. Was
Yeah.
ready to run well at um
CCC.
CCC, yeah, whatever we just did. And just like had to drop out because my feet were on fire like 7 miles in. So yeah, I just whatever.
Yeah.
Chamonix is just not the place for me at the moment, and I'm fine with that because actually like the chaos of the week and all like trying to avoid friends when I know that everyone is in town and stuff is like really not that fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll get more into that, but I do want to say compared to this episode last year, we've come a long way
Yeah,
and
I'm much more mature about
no, last year sucked too in a different
yeah,
way though, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it though. Yeah,
My
honestly though, every friend that I've had that has asked what happened to you and I've explained, they're like, "Oh yeah, that sucks. That's happened to me and X race or blah
yeah.
race." Like, you know, so I
It's
mean,
like if it
don't
happens late in
don't
the race, like that's normal,
whatever.
right? Like
Yeah.
you're like, wow, I've made it 40 miles, I can make it 22 more.
Yeah.
But for it to happen so early and like maybe it's like it's always a mistake to think that far ahead in these races, but like looking at my watch and being like, holy shit, I have to do this for 47 more miles. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I can do that. So but yeah, I am it feels way less dramatic than it did last year. Like last year was so heartbreaking, and this year I'm just like, well, shit.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good call.
Yeah.
Like it,
Now
I
I get
mean,
to run some other
you could
races. So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
MK's going back sub. She's going sub again. She's done. She's taking this little detour and I let her do it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay. Knowing that she'd come straight back to the hottest races in the US this year.
When I called my mom after the race, she was like, okay, well, we're done with ultras. And I was like, all right.
Savage, mom.
So yeah, apparently I'm done with ultras. Yeah, I might race the last two Golden Trail races. Still
Let's
trying to figure out where my
go.
brain is, but
Can you race with a GoPro for some sub hub content? Just
yeah,
like
just
on your
like out
chest?
there, I'm like literally having a heart attack, but still doing selfie videos.
Exactly. Or just get the like running chest one and run with that. And then that
As
way we
I'm
get like
passing people down.
exactly. Just like you should just hold back the first half and then just
Mhm.
pass like 20 people.
It'll look super cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, so definitely doing New York Marathon, which was always kind of the plan.
Yeah.
But now I don't have to take a ton of time off to recover for it.
Yeah.
I can just get straight into marathon training, and then yeah, the Golden Trail races will just kind of be like fun little long runs on the weekends, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure if I'm gonna do
Um
both, so TBD. Don't expect me to be there. I may not.
yeah, and I'm still deciding if I will actually be in town for Mammoth. Um, just working through some stuff. I'm not quite sure if I want to be around a race, but it's hard when all your really close friends are going to be in your space. So yeah, we'll update you on what we're doing at Mammoth and stuff. But um, before, sorry, y'all, you have some great questions. I just wanted to like do some quick hits highlights from CCC and UTMB. CCC, congrats to Hayden, ran an incredibly gutsy race, really cool. I mean, the dude is having a freaking year. Like
Yeah.
Black Canyon course record win, had a little injury or niggle, come back again. Third at Western States with like an insane like
Sprint finish.
comeback sprint finish. Um, Dominates. Honestly, I'm gonna say he did dominate CCC. He came through Champé looking like a spring chicken. Like he was on it that day.
Yeah.
And he even raced before that and won, and he might have a couple more races. So definitely consider Hayden for your top 10 when they do the Trail Runner of the Year with Free Trail. Like those all, if you had one of those performances, it'd be a great year, but the dude has had three. So
Yeah.
yeah, Adam Peterman, a huge congrats. Like third place coming back.
Especially
And
after a rough year.
yeah, I'm part of me is like, was he just training through everything? Maybe. I don't
Talking to him
know.
after Speed Goat, I don't think so. He was
Okay.
very disappointed in like his performance at Canyons and his performance at Speed Goat. And so for him to come back and like
Yeah.
absolutely knock it out of the park,
Yeah.
super cool.
Super cool. And I think that was his debut too.
I think that is his first time running CCC because 2 years ago he ran Worlds.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, really cool to see Adam up there. Um, and yeah, just a bunch of other American men in there mixing it up. American men at CCC, that's their jam. Like that's the race that they freaking shine.
Yeah.
Like last year, this year, just really freaking cool to see. Women's CCC, the Tony McCann goes out, sticks the landing. I mean,
Debut
no,
100K.
debut 100K. One of the few folks to have two wins at between OCC, CCC, UTMB. Time will tell if she's going to go for UTMB. I think she's going to
God.
let this one simmer it.
Yeah.
But the girl also got a golden ticket. You know, everyone, I forgot. I don't know if you forgot, but the top
Everyone
three
always
at
forgets for
CCC,
CCC.
yeah, the top three, because normally it's
Yeah.
been two, get golden tickets. So there's a chance we're going to see some folks. I think for sure Adam Peterman is accepting it.
Yeah, definitely. It'll roll down to sixth place. Like that's as far as it'll go. I am curious because the women's podium was much more European, like to see who actually does take it out of that group.
Yeah, I mean, there was some great performances from the folks that took those tickets last year.
Yeah.
Like Ingville won and then ran the fifth pass, or yeah, maybe fifth
Sixth
fastest
fastest.
debut. Maybe
Oh yeah.
sixth fastest, yeah, if you throw Courtney in
Courtney in
there.
there. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, in CCC, there's a lot of folks or on the women's side I didn't know, so it was really cool to like see new names up there. Jasmine Lowther, would love to see her healthy and come back. Like she was running really strong until she ended up dropping out. And then UTMB, Katie
Katie
MF
freaking
shied.
shied.
What?
Wow.
What?
Talk about a year. Like
Yeah,
no
she better
doubt.
win that freaking
Yeah, I
thing.
was
If
gonna
she
say,
doesn't, I'm gonna start freaking turning
yeah.
stuff and burning
Katie
on
Scheid is
fire.
trail runner of the year. She's ultra runner of the year. Don't even mess around. Like,
No, yeah, vote that.
oh my
Like,
God. And to run like 20 minutes faster than Courtney Dauwalter. And I don't know if you were watching that final descent, but she was hobbling down that descent. I was so stressed.
I was really stressed too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, she's gonna finish. She has to finish. Like, she's super tough. But I was
Yeah.
worried like her leg was like disconnected or something. And if she fell from like
Yeah.
clipping, that she wasn't gonna get back up. Like my brain was just going to the worst situation possible. I'm like,
Yeah. No, it
because
was so stressful.
I mean, she already beat by 20 minutes. If she wasn't limping, she was about to crush that by like
I thought
35
she was
minutes.
I thought she was gonna break 22 hours,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
would have
she for
been
sure.
insane. Yeah.
She would have. She would
Yeah.
have if whatever, I don't know what came up, but like she definitely would have, which is insane. And after
Still
Western
our hero.
States, like goat,
Yeah.
goat.
Wins Canyons
Um,
100K. Basic, like she was, how many minutes was she off of men's? She was 20 minutes off of men's winner at Canyons.
no, she
Did Rod
was.
run? Rod ran like 850, right?
I honestly don't remember.
I have to look it up. But she ran 910. She was very close. And then she wins Western States and then she wins UTMB in a course record time.
Well, like, yeah, she's number one. Not even, wait, yeah. I mean, not even a question. Courtney had an incredible year too, but to take wins at Western States and UTMB and a course record, you got to lean more towards Katie.
Oh yeah. I
this time
mean,
around.
yeah, Courtney's schedule definitely not as competitive.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Katie's my hero. She's so cool. Um,
And then Vincent on the men's side. Like what a
right?
cool day.
What's going on?
Yeah. Like a lot of I mean, I'm sure like nobody expected that guy to win but he looked great from beginning to end. Like watching him run, I was like, he looks like Jim Walmsley out there, just popping the ground like he's running on a track for
Yeah,
107 miles. He looked great.
yeah. That was crazy. Yeah, just drops from Jim, Tom, um, overnight, Tim, unfortunately, too. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Cody Lind was the lone male in the top 10 on the men's side.
I thought that was a huge day for him.
That was a huge day for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he gets some attention for that. And France showed up.
Dominated.
Part of me feels like after Jim and Zach went 1-2 last year, they're like, not again.
Yeah, we got to recruit more people. Like, let's go. Because they went like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, didn't they? No, they went 1, 2, 4, 5, I think. Because the third guy, I think, was from like South America.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I honestly didn't realize that um Vincent, like obviously it's in his name, but with him being a shoe engineer, I'm like, does he live in France? Does he live like in Galita or
He
something like
lived in
that?
the US for a while. He was living up in Portland, but now he's back in they're in Honesty now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because
Yeah,
his
France went,
partner works for Solomon and he works
uh,
for Hoka.
gotcha. Yeah, France went 1, 2, 5, 6. So
Yeah,
four in the top six.
that's crazy.
Crazy. That is crazy. Yeah,
Who,
and
yeah,
then
where was the third place guy from?
Ecuador living in
That
Spain.
is so cool.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
cool. And then Germany was fourth. And then on the women's side, Katie Scheid, American, Ruth Croft runs
big
a
day.
time that would have won any other year, pretty much,
Yeah,
besides the 2 course record years. And yeah, her pass on Marianne was just wild.
so crazy.
And yeah, I feel just like a long awaited debut at UTMB. Like that was her first time running UTMB. This is Katie Scheid's fourth time running UTMB.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
I'm very curious if Ruth is going to come back to this and she'll probably, I'm curious if it's starting to manifest like next year the whole podium goes under 22, kind of like Western States just like blew everyone's minds last year or this
Yeah,
year. And then Marianne Hogan, this girl does not come out of this race unscathed.
no.
She broke her finger mid-race.
Ew. Oh,
And
I
then,
saw that picture. I
yeah,
was wondering what that was.
I love it so much. She's just sticking her finger in the air. It's so cool. Um, but yeah, so US living in France, Katie Scheid, Ruth Croft, New Zealand, Marianne Hogan, Canada living in France. Shenlin comes back after Western States and Redemption, very strong, fourth place. Chinese runner, Blondine Leandrel, fifth place. Another go at UTMB, incredible. Emily Hawgood, I mean, if you look at Katie Scheid and Emily Hawgood, they are the two top Western States returners. Freaking Emily Hawgood, like, if you want to know how to double, call Emily Hawgood, text Emily Hawgood, slip into Emily Hawgood's DMs. This girl never misses. Like, she is
Yeah.
there all the freaking time. It's just like, it's so cool. And then we have Sabrina Stanley as US, Claudia Tremp, Spain, Martina Valmasoy,
Boy. Yeah.
Italy, and then Lucy Bartholomew and 10th. So the women's top 10 was all over the place. There's actually no country that got two athletes.
I think this is
Crazy.
the first time that all 10 women have finished in the daylight.
Yeah, because I was watching and supporting Sabrina Stanley last year, and she was 10th. She finished like super dark
Yeah.
in the nighttime.
Yeah.
And yeah, all 10 women in the daylight.
Super cool.
Super cool. Hey all, Danny here. professional trail runner and co-host of the SubHub podcast. Last year, after getting sick before a big race, I started looking into natural ways to boost my immune system. So I embarked on a little research journey, trying out a few different options. And you know what? I found myself reaching for one set of products again and again, and that was Beekeepers Naturals. And guess what? They are now a partner of the pod. Founded with a mission to reinvent the medicine cabinet, Beekeepers Naturals offers an array of immune-boosting products free from harmful chemicals and artificial ingredients. Their hero ingredient is called propolis. It's nature's defender of the hive, packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. While my personal favorite product is the throat spray, they also have lozenges, syrups, and a bunch of great options for kids. So if you're looking for a natural option to boost your immune system, consider trying Beekeepers Naturals products. And be sure to use the code SUBHUB20 for 20% off of all of your orders at beekeepersnaturals.com.
All right, we should get to some questions before
Yeah.
you have to pop off here.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, we can go on and on. Okay, so thanks everyone who submitted some questions via Instagram.
We're
All
gonna
right,
bop around here a little bit.
bop around. Which one do you want to do first?
I'll just start at the top.
Cool.
Here it says, I want to know what have been the most important variables in the collective raising of the bar at OCC these past few years. You have to run so much faster, even just to maintain positions. We were talking about this a little bit offline, and my best guess is that the new qualifying system, new-ish qualifying system, has made this a more competitive race. In the past, you got in based on an index, which is like great. It's a little bit easier for some people, but if you live somewhere where like you run races that don't get UTMB indexes, which is a lot of races, then you don't get those opportunities. Whereas the addition of so many races in the World Series, as well as getting automatic entry out of a top 3 finish at these races, I think just adds much more competition because you have athletes that don't have elite indexes per se that are finishing in the top 3 of these races and getting a chance at the final.
Yeah, I think part of it too, I agree, is that brands are actually offering bonuses for OCC. So back in the day, there was only bonuses for UTMB, and then gradually they started to add CCC, and then in the past, 3 to 5 years, they've added bonus prize money for OCC enough to where it's like enticing for these shorter distance athletes that it actually could be potentially like your best payday. And
along with UTMB offering a pretty substantial amount as well now.
Exactly. And so, you combine that and then you add the kind of like parallel series of Golden Trail, which has very similar distances, offering visibility, money, the list goes on and on, professionalization of these shorter distances. I just think like athletes are actually specializing in shorter distances because they can from a financial and professional standpoint. And so you're getting more of like this simmer situation instead of athletes using it as like purely as a step up to get to like in quotes, the like prize glory of UTMB. Athletes can now actually stay and refine their skill set, figure out what to work on, fitness, etc. And then my last point will be the introduction of hybrid athletes, I think has made this shorter distance in the trail space so much more competitive because people come in with like on the women's side between 110 and 115 half marathons, between 225 and 235 marathons. And so like that speed translates. You still need the skill sets. So the people that are already existing are now coexisting with these super fast people. And it's like, if you want to be the best, you have no choice but to get fast and like increase your fitness. So yeah, I think it's a lot of factors going in. But thank you. Yes, the bar is raising for OCC.
Yes. Yep. We had a lot of questions just like about the heat in general. One of them being thoughts on extra mandatory gear. Most of the others being about like nutrition and water during a hot race like this. Thoughts on mandatory gear, because they did text us pretty much every race like the day before. You have to have a hat, you have to have 2 liters worth of water reserve instead of the normal one. So basically, you just have to carry 4 flasks instead of 2. And you had to wear sunglasses and you had to have sunscreen. My thoughts is that some of it's kind of silly. Honestly, didn't need sunscreen. Probably should have worn it, but didn't need it. The water, I mean, it was a good idea. Like you definitely, at least from my experience, I had planned to drink like 2 bottles an hour. I ended up drinking almost 3 bottles an hour for like the time that I was in the race. Things that I think should change though. Yes, you should have extra mandatory gear for the heat, but like, why do I still need my rain jacket, my extra pair of pants, my extra long sleeve? Like, if we're gonna add things, I think we should also take things away if it's gonna be hot.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I don't need trousers. I don't need a
No,
rain jacket. Like,
I don't need my
let
warm
us,
hat.
yeah, I think it should be like basic kit, hot kit, cold kit, and the hot kit includes all of the basic kit stuff that you still need. So it's basically, it replaces, it doesn't add to.
Yeah,
So it's like, sure, I still need blah, 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 like a headlamp, right? But
yeah.
it just
I
like,
still
it
need my
also
cup.
lists that in the hot kit. So it's just like, it becomes the new one. So
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
was
people
pretty
complained
pissed
about
about
that.
carrying my, because for CCC I had to have a rain jacket, a pair of leggings, a pair of waterproof pants, and a warm shirt. Like I didn't need any of those things if it's 85 degrees and 80% humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. Um,
In terms of hydration and nutrition,
Uh, well, I think everyone I talked to was drinking so much more water than they thought, and especially in OCC Trianta Bomb, everyone, it sounded like everyone drank their water within like 3 miles because it was
yeah,
heating up so much, and then we were just kind of like, there's one spot to like turn off and get water, but it wasn't very clear, like how to manage that. Um, so yeah, when it's hot, you need more water. You probably need more electrolytes. So hopefully you already looked at the weather the day before, and pure water is nice if like you're a monster eater, but if you're not, sometimes your tummy can get a little funny. And it's really hard because you only learn that if you run in another hot weather place beforehand, which not everyone has that luxury or benefit to trial in the same weather place.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely recommend adding some electrolytes. This is probably a good episode to have Vic on
yeah,
again too, to
for
just talk
sure.
about hot weather stuff. But
I
yeah,
think
cooling your body down is really important too. And then eating, you just got to do what the day gives you.
you
Because
got to force it
I,
as much
I
as you
mean,
can.
I don't know the science stuff behind this, but for sure, because your skin is hotter, your blood has to be doing something with your skin, and maybe like eating too
Burning more.
much. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry,
We need
guys.
Vic. Yeah.
We need Vic. It's mostly been trial and error for us.
Yeah.
Um,
I just
but yeah,
added I my plan was to eat the same amount of carbs or at least get as close as possible, but I added a bunch of sodium to my like liquid calories.
yeah, I think that's the way to go. Which
But
never
I did add a
second,
lot more water.
Subhub 25, they have a
Yeah.
great sodium additive.
Super easy to use.
Super easy to use.
In terms
Um,
of not having ice, because that was something that somebody mentioned, I don't know what you did, Danny, but a buff is required gear. So what I ended up doing was anytime I saw water that was like easily accessible, I dumped my buff in it and put it on my neck. And that was like the best way to keep cool in that moment. Dip my hat, put it on my head. Just trying to like get as wet as possible for as much of the race as I could.
yeah, I also had a buff and just would like dunk it in water and then put it on top of my head. Behind the neck probably was smarter. But yeah, if you ever see water, just dunk your head. I think there's a good video of Tony just literally
Yeah.
putting her entire head underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's fortunately in Europe there are a lot of like random like troughs like that where you can get water. So yeah, just like soaking yourself.
As far as how it impacts pacing and fueling, think Jim underscore C underscore 1985. Um, It depends on how heat trained you are. I mean, we'll talk to Eli and we'll have our episode with him. I'd be very curious to hear from the horse's mouth what he thought about the La Flégère climb, because that notoriously is the hottest climb usually.
Yeah.
towards the end of the race, and it looked like he was having a rough time that last climb.
Suffering.
And yeah, with heat, your pacing should be lower. Like you should try and go off of or slower. You should try and go off of heart rate if you can. Um, and it depends on how your body deals with heat, to be honest. Like if you're coming from a much cooler place, you for sure should slow down your splits in the heat because you're just going to overheat and
Yep.
it's not going to be a good time. If you're used to the heat, then it's a different story. You can more or less run the same. You still potentially can overheat, but your body is used to like sweating and like different physiological mechanisms that will help like you cool down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at like the winners of all the races because all of the races were very hot.
Yeah.
You've got Vincent and Katie and Tony all train in the area, and it's been pretty hot and humid, like kind of all summer. Hayden Hawks is notoriously good at heat training. That's like he trains pretty much all year
He's a
round.
Utah boy. Yeah.
Yeah. And Miao Yao is from China, where she lives is also very hot and humid.
Super
Eli
humid.
Hemming, maybe like who knows? We'll have to ask
I
him about
think,
his heat
yeah, I
training.
think they have a sauna. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So like all of the people that won these races either live in these environments that are similar or they have been like sauna training their butt off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
is there
other-
any other heat ones? I think it's just nutrition when you run over 50K when it's hot. Um, I feel like normally I eat less, but again, it's completely individual.
yeah, I just try to switch more of my calories to liquid calories.
Okay,
Like I try
that's a
to
good.
eat less gels, drink more of my calories because like it's really hard to throw down a gel when you're hot.
It's really hard.
Especially
Yeah.
because like especially a race like OCC, you're carrying your food the entire time. And when your gels are up against your body, they also get really hot, which is like the worst thing when you are not wanting to eat.
Yeah. I mean, all of these questions that we got are a good reminder. Like everyone is suffering in the heat and like trying to figure it out. It looks like this last one may be addressing the heat coping, especially fueling pivots. Like MK said, pivot to more drinkable stuff and honestly,
Sodium.
sodium. Yeah. And if you were planning to eat real food, it's probably going to be easier to switch more to gels.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like real food gets a lot harder when it's hot.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, it was just like upping how much water you drink per hour. Like that's the most water I've ever had in an hour.
Yeah, same.
I ran
Yeah.
out of water to the first aid station because I thought that I had enough. And yeah, like within the first 4 miles, I was like, holy shit, I like really miscalculated this time wise. I was so thirsty. I finished 2 carb bottles before I should have because I just needed the liquid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was rough out there, folks.
Yeah. But let's see, other questions that don't have to do with heat. I like this one. What do you do after the race?
Um
Depends on the person.
Yeah, I mean, Chamonix week is special because you have the other races. So for myself, I couldn't sleep. My body was so hot last night. I rolled my ankle really bad too during the race. So I just was uncomfortable. But the next day I was out cheering CCC. The day after that, I was out cheering UTMB. If I was somewhere else, I probably would have just laid down horizontal and rested.
Yeah, I was gonna say in this week you like go out and crew people or cheer for people. In other situations, typically after a race, I take a lot of time down. I like, yeah, horizontal, but also like beer as well.
Yeah, I honestly, the one thing I did do is I tried to eat as much as I could. The day after my tummy was a little weird, but during UTMB day, I like went out, had sushi, had bought a whole pizza for myself, got gelato twice, like just trying to eat as much food as I can, which I think
Yeah,
especially for everyone, if you're there, you're running most likely MCC, OCC, you're running long and
yeah,
far. You're out there for a long time. So you really need to replenish those glycogen stores and give your body the tools to recover,
recover. Even
which
if this
is
is your
food and
last
sleep.
race of the year and you're
Yeah,
like, I just don't need to eat anymore. It's like, no, you need that so that you're not like absolutely wrecked for 2 weeks after.
exactly.
This question I think we'll kind of save for our Eli and Sarah episodes. The question from Brendan runs is how do race tactics over 57 kilometers play out? Did the heat play a role? Those will be great questions for them. So listen to those episodes for some of that.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
like
don't know.
these ones. The tracker issues in the checks mid-race. This has been a hot topic, y'all, since the races. Yeah, apparently, well, it's not apparently, it actually happened in Truant. Judith and Tabor were both stopped for gear checks. Meow wasn't. Come on, people.
It
Like,
does it does seem like if you're gonna gear check people, you need to gear check everyone like it through at least top 10.
exactly. Yeah. Even if it was like Tabor Meow, but not Judith, or Judith and Meow, but not Tabor. It's like,
Yeah. No, you
do
needed to gear check everyone.
just like make your number top 20, gear check every freaking person.
Yeah.
Eli
At a
got
race like
top
OCC, it
checked.
probably should be like top 15 to top 20 because everybody's so close. In
I think
like the
so too.
UTMB CCC races, you can probably get away with like top 5 to 10, but like you need to be
Yeah,
consistent.
exactly. So if they want to check whatever, I mean, I think I'd be fine with it. It's like we have to, you told us to carry this stuff and it's mandatory. Everyone should be carrying their stuff.
I actually think
Um,
that the way that they should do it, at the way that they did it at World Championships, is that they checked every single elite bag on the way in.
okay.
And then when you finished, they checked at least through top 10. Like you had to pull everything out of your bag and show them that you had everything. And I do think that at the finish line, at least, you need to be
Yeah.
able to show that you've carried it the whole way.
Yeah. Just have a table with people set up already.
Yeah.
And especially, yeah, I would say the top 15, top 20, because let's say in my race, if 3 women ahead of me didn't have stuff, suddenly I'm on the podium.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like
No,
it
I
literally
think,
could be that.
yeah, I think that's how you do it in a race like OCC. At UTMB, Tim Tollefson was telling me that if you get gear checked and you don't have it, they literally just make you sit there for your time penalty. So
Yeah.
like they'll add 15 minutes and so you have to sit in the aid station for 15 minutes and then you can leave.
Yeah, they should do that in OCC for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's getting crazy with all the camera runners and brands capturing content. Is it bothering you as elite athletes? We are so lucky to follow this race from afar, but at times I feel like the athletes are being really crowded and honestly felt a little uneasy watching it.
Honestly, that kind of stuff helps me mostly because we know a lot of the videographers and photographers out there. And I like having people out on the course that are like hyping me up. Um, so I don't mind it. I've also never had like a videographer like get in my way. They're usually like on the side of the trail. I'm sure if I ran into somebody, I'd have like a different opinion on it, but I just love the hype. So
Yeah, honestly, I'm used to it at this point because of Golden Trail, so it doesn't really bother me. There was only one point in OCC where I was being followed and they were running ahead of me, and I had like started picking up and I felt like their pace was slower than mine. But if I really, I have told camera people before, like faster, faster, to like
yeah, or
tell
just
them to
like
pick it up.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world. Like that's not why I got 6 places because they ran with me for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I honestly don't mind it. And honestly, that's part of this race, going in. It is a lot of media. Even compared to maybe like Western states, it's probably like 5 times more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And as annoying as it is, it does help us as athletes. Like
Yeah,
the more content that you can get, the more like screen time that you get, the more eyes there are on you, the more you might be able to get paid at some point.
totally. Yeah.
Um, we're running out of time here. So maybe another question to be for Sarah and Eli, what does a build up to these races look like? Are there any fun events that happen that can be shared? I will tell you from my opinion, I had to be really like kind of secluded this time around because I got sick last time. There are a lot of fun events, but a lot of elites are not attending these events because we're trying really hard not to get sick.
I was gonna say, I think I was talking to Tony and we were talking about if someone was in the Adidas house, they would think we are so lame.
Oh
Like,
yeah, everybody's just in their room asleep. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is really fun. You get to be with your friends. Like, we have like cornhole, bananagram, stuff like that. But yeah, it really is about not getting sick, being in your mental space. Like, preparing for these races mentally takes time. And it depends on how long you've been doing the sport. Sometimes for some people, like they just need a day to shut off. Some people it takes like, I mean, some of our UTMB folks were like in their rooms for probably 3 days. It's like, I
yeah,
totally get it. You're about to run for an entire day straight through the mountains. You need to rest up and just focus on what you're doing. So, unfortunately, I would say there's little to no fun the
I
weeks
played a lot of
before.
card games.
Yeah, like you might do a shoot with your media team, but it really is like, especially with so many people getting sick now, like every single freaking year. Even COVID was going around again this year. You're trying to have little to no contact,
Yeah.
with that. And what about this one? What in your preparation helped you the most for this race? Maybe we'll close with that one.
I mean, I think for a race like, oh, sorry. For a race like OCC or CCC, for those of us in America, at least for myself, like the thing that helps most in preparation for this race is just getting in as much vert as I can.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta do, I agree, but it is still individual for sure.
Yeah. Like for
And
me, like I'm already speed is pretty like just innate to me. Like even today I went and did a workout and was like, oh, I'm still super fast, whatever. So for me, it's like I have to focus on getting vert in because that's where I'm weakest.
yeah, yeah. I would say mentally, my preparation was subpar this year. It just felt very rushed and I had a lot of pressure on myself. So I think it differs on how your season has gone, previous experience, etc. And then physically, yeah, I put in a lot more vert this year. I don't know if I'll put in that much more next year. Just like right after the race notes, I just felt like I only had like 2 gears when I felt like I wish I had more.
Yeah.
So,
You shouldn't
yeah,
need as much vert next year because you put in so much this year.
yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
relatively high DNF rate.
Among elite athletes. I mean, these are long races and they're hard races. And I think especially it seems like a lot of Americans, like I think if you looked at the DNF rate, like for Americans in general, it's even higher. And it's because like we really don't have places that we can mimic stuff like this. So like, I mean, like for me, things went wrong because I did something that I do all the time, but I can't practice running steep downhills like that. So yeah, I think a lot of it is that other parts of it is like a lot of people, this is still kind of early season. I mean, it's only September. So if you're thinking that you're going to put yourself in a really deep hole, but not do as well, or you're going to hurt yourself, like maybe it's just time to shut it down so you can regroup and do something else.
Yeah, it is super interesting because you don't I don't know DNF rates in road marathon. Sorry, y'all, we do have to also wrap this up because I need to go. But I would be interested to know like the DNF rate at the Olympics and the marathon, right? Like what that looked like. And
Yeah.
really if it is time on feet, like time of race in.
Yeah.
And if you have something that shows up at mile 20, you don't want to race another 40, 80 miles on that because it could lead to long-term consequences.
Yeah.
And as far as I've seen this a lot, like if the DNF should affect your index, right? Because that has come up.
Yeah.
It's really hard because there is a spectrum of DNFs. Like just on my team alone, there were some people that were just mentally having a really hard day, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
and then you had other people who potentially were going to injure themselves severely. It's
Yeah.
such a freaking spectrum, but is one
I
less justified than the other? It's hard to say.
I also think that some people probably drop out. I mean, because this is like a lot of people's income.
Yeah.
And if you say you're somebody who like you felt for sure, like I'm top 10 at this race, which for this race you get paid through top 10. And all of a sudden you're in like 25th. And you're like, if I finish this race, I won't be able to run this next race. You know, like maybe it's a Golden Trail athlete. And they're like, I won't be able to run headlands. But at Henlands, I could make money if I just drop out of this race. Like, I think that's also a part of it for some people because, I mean, if you're on a contract where you're getting paid like $5,000 a year, like your bonus structure is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a complex question. We'll let
Yeah.
that one simmer a little bit too. Maybe we'll throw that we should have Sarah and Eli answer all the hard questions.
Yeah. But we
Okay.
got to sign off.
Yeah, we got to sign off. Just yeah, quick hits of OCC just the entire week. It's a freaking sick event for our sport. Like it's really cool we have something like this and you can not pick your poison, maybe pick your sugar, I don't know, see what lights you up. I know my friend Rod is like I just want to like do the double next year. I'm like, sick, yeah. So yeah. Thanks all. Check out the SubHub headlines coming out today. Again, keep your eyes peeled for our episode with US OCC champ Eli Hemming, debutante fourth place Sarah Alonso, and we're still figuring out how we're going to end this year, but we're definitely going to have more content. So yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of races still to cover. So
Yeah,
stay
definitely.
tuned.
Yep. This has been the SubHub podcast brought to you by Free Trail.